First of all, I'd like to give Ken a lot of credit. Obviously, they had a heck of a 3-day run, and I could see from watching film coming into the game that Rob had them playing their best basketball. You could tell they were really motivated and connected throughout the course of the tournament. So my hat's off to them on the run that they had. Really proud of these guys, our entire team, the way we just stuck with it. Obviously, we didn't finish necessarily season 2 the way that we wanted to. Greg mentioned that the other day, that, he was honest and said he gets on Twitter. I think obviously maybe some people had counted these guys out, but they don't understand the character these guys have in between their ears and in their chest like I do. And so I knew they would come back and fight when we had to do that. And, we get down early in the Miami game in the quarters and we come back, didn't flinch. Yesterday we scored 16 points in the first half and have 13 turnovers, and usually that's a recipe for disaster. But our guys bounced back the second half, made plays, and really had a refuse-to-lose disposition yesterday, I thought. I thought today, did we play our best? Not necessarily, but we found a way. I thought we were a step or two slow, but the guys stayed together. We showed great poise. As I told you the other day, it starts with really the leadership of these three guys. And, Greg's voice yesterday was referenced a lot by Sammy, Ali, and Enrique. And that's an important part of who we are. And, these guys did a great job leading the young guys and kind of getting to the next play and not getting too high or too low. I thought it was a great testament to their mental toughness.
What are you telling those guys, Coach, right before, that last timeout?
Obviously we were up 7, and they made a couple plays there. A couple plays didn't go our way. We had to – biggest thing is just getting to the next play. I think these guys are older. I've said that before, obviously, and so they've kind of seen it all. And I think it starts with the disposition of these three guys and our staff. Just, hey, next play. You got to get to the next play. You might be disappointed for a second, but we can't allow this to get us frustrated. We got to get to the next play as quickly as possible and make the play that the game requires us to make in order to give ourselves a chance to win the next possession. And these guys really bought into it over the last 3 days of just, hey, one game at a time. We really did. We worried about Miami. We didn't even show the rest of the bracket. And then we worried about Ohio. And then we worried about Kent. We just kind of took it one day at a time, one game at a time, and throughout the game we're trying to take it one possession at a time.
Any more questions for our student athletes before we dismiss them? We'll go ahead and do that at this time. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Hey, no massage therapy tonight.
Congratulations.
John, how surprised were you by the foul in that situation?
Yeah, obviously I was surprised. Greg, I'm interested in listening to Greg answer the question because there's 4.8 or 4.9, whatever it was left. I was going to call timeout. We had one left. So I was waving to him to get it into the front court, and then we've got a menu of 4 or 5 special situation plays, sideline, out, quarter court that we could run. That's what I thought was going to happen. So, I was surprised by the foul.
You've done this long enough, too, and I know you and Rob are close. How much empathy do you feel for
A lot.
Situation?
First thing I said to him when I walked in the line, first of all, it's interesting. He and I always talk about this, obviously the schools, but he and I have been close for a long time. I hope they appreciate him and what he's done, how good they've been for a long time. He's been a huge part of that. I got a lot of respect for their players. I love Santiago. Love him. I don't like it when we got to play against him. But I love watching him on film. I love watching his vibe when we coach against them. I think he's a winner. I think he's got a lot of guys that are like that. So, yeah, I do. I feel that. I hate that for the young man. But, he's a good player. And, these guys said, we've all made mistakes. Heck, I have, they have, we all have. It's your resiliency, your bounce back. And, I'm sure that he will. But they played great over these 3 days. They really did. I saw that in the film. I said that earlier, watching their Toledo and Bowling Green games. I mean, they were I thought, you'd have to ask him, he coaches them every day, but I thought playing the best basketball they had played all year, in my opinion.
Coach, what's it like to have your family be a part of this moment with you?
Oh, it's huge. Obviously, Cam and Kate are here. Connor, my son, was here. You know, my wife, mother, stepfather, sister was here. Other relatives here, other family members, friends. My best friend was here. You know, my dad wasn't able to make it due to some health stuff, so I had him certainly in the back of my mind every day and communicated with him, and you know, I'll make sure he gets a little piece of this net sent his way.
Like when you, okay, so Greg gets fouled. I mean, this basically NCAA tournament on the line here going there. What are you thinking as he goes through?
Just like Ali said, you're going to live with it. It's like, you know, he did. And Ali said Western, but it was actually Eastern at home a few weeks ago or a week and a half ago, not that long ago. He missed two. I mean, he normally makes those. I mean, you're talking about a guy that 5 years ago, people didn't guard him. Now he shoots over 40% from three in Division I games, over 50% from two, has more assists than turnovers, and I'll send him to the line to shoot techs throughout the year. I mean, it's a great story because a year right after the first year I met with him, he was so instrumental in our first regular season championship in 2020. He was a big part of that team. And I challenged him with some things in the offseason. I said, man, if you're a guard, you got to be able to make some free throws. He was shooting, I think, you'd have to look, Terry, but I want to say 60s at best. And boy, did he just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. You know, before we came to the MAC tournament, I don't know how these games get filtered into the statistics that they send out. But based on minimum attempts and minimum makes, he was the leading three-point field goal percentage shooter in the league. You know, and think about where he was 4 or 5 years ago. It's a testament to his work. The commitment he makes to the game is exceptional. You know, I've been doing it 30 years. I would say top 10% being conservative of workers, work capacity. You know, and so like Ali said, like, and a lot of these guys, they're in there all the time. They're in there at night. They're coming in the morning. I mean, so I've got complete peace of mind. I live with that. They work at it.
What time do you get to the gym every day?
Well, it depends. I like to take my Camden to school, who's sitting here with you guys. And so if I can get him dropped off for school just so I can spend a few minutes with him, sometimes I'll take Caters to school on game days. That's our routine, right, Caters? But right after I drop him off to school, I get to the gym. We have a staff meeting right before the morning practice. But I try to do that because I don't get to see him nearly as much as I'd like to. You know, that's one of the challenging things about our profession. You're all the time telling them that they're the most important thing, the highest priority, but sometimes your time that you spend doing what you do doesn't dictate or show that, you know, and so that makes it challenging. That's why moments like this, I want these guys to enjoy it because they're such a huge part of it.
Hey, John, just circling back to what you said at the beginning about the team's character. In your experience as a coach, a lot of teams, what sets this group apart in terms of that?
Well, it does start with the three guys that are up here. I mean, I would say the biggest thing is really simply this. Everybody has selfish desires. I don't care who you are, right? It's normal, and I always tell them that. But what these guys do is they basically put all that aside and they care about two things first and foremost: each other and winning. So they put aside personal agendas. Take a guy like Caleb Thornton. I mean, Caleb Thornton started a lot of games last year from Northern Illinois. Led the league in assists, led the league in steals. He came here because he wanted to have a chance to win. Didn't play as much, probably, quite frankly, you could ask him, and I'm okay with that, as he would have liked. But he's having the time of his life in the locker room. Hey, this is why I came here. Sacrifice. You know, they care about each other, they love each other, and they care about winning. And when those two things are 1 and 2, the care for each other, the winning, you got a chance, assuming that your talent level, you know, is in the ballpark, which obviously they're pretty talented. So I think that's what makes them unique.
Obviously, basketball, game of runs. Both teams had several runs. These two guys right here obviously led. What did you say to these two guys with what could have been their final game?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, and Ali said it, and he led us in scoring. For my standard of those two guys, like, you know, obviously Freeman yesterday was ridiculous, okay? But they played just okay today. But give Kent credit. I mean, they had a lot to do with that. Their scheme defensively, they slowed the game down. They mucked it up, played man and zone, grinded it. So, give them some credit. We had too many turnovers. I mean, Ali had 6 turnovers. I don't know how many games this year he's had 6 turnovers. That's what he meant by being sloppy with the ball. I thought Freeman at times, he would tell you he needed to be a little tougher with the ball around the basket and more on balance. I thought they were okay, but I thought at the end of the day, again, what allowed us to win each day, I think, was their mental toughness and their character. Okay, Miami comes out and blitzes you to start the game. Didn't even flinch. They just kept right on their own timeouts, like, hey, let's clean this up. Like, there's no panic. Yesterday, like I said, we scored 16 points. I still can't believe that. And give Ohio credit because they defended well, but we turned it over, made some bad decisions in the paint. But the ability to come back in that game, I think showed their character or revealed their character as well.
Coach, real quick, but sticking to styles, Kent won their first game off of old school bully ball. They win their second game more guard driven. Definitely to make sure of that tonight. You know better than all of us here, like, how is it having to battle like coach against that in the heat of the battle?
Against their guard-driven team. I think their interior players are good too. Like I thought Hornbeek was playing really well coming into the game. I was really concerned about Entenmann's physicality and his desire was so strong watching him the last couple days, and he played that way again today. We had a hard time keeping him off the glass. And then Von Cameron Davis was absolutely terrific. They ran a lot of offense to him the last 2 to 3 days. I thought he was really good. And then obviously you're talking about their guards. So I got a lot of respect for Sullinger. I coached his dad at Ohio State, JJ, who's a great player for us and a great guy on one of our Big Ten championship teams when I was an assistant. And then recruited his uncle, Jared, as well. So Barb and Satch, great people. He's a really good player. Unbelievable offensively, explosive. I thought today he really made some tough shots. The one he made at the end of the half, that's on me. We got a foul to give. And I'm going to be honest with you, I knew it. And I didn't want Greg to foul because I already had one. So Ali gets switched on him, doesn't have any fouls. And I'm like, I'm going to tell him to foul. And I'm looking at him, and he's like at about 30 feet. I'm like, I'm not going to foul a guy at 30. He's not going to 30 feet. I mean, he's like 5 to 10 feet behind the three-point line. And he buries it. So that's on me. 30 foot. I mean, he's got incredible range. He's incredibly offensively gifted. Really tough cover. And again, I already talked about Santiago earlier. I got a lot of respect for him. So they've got, they played really well over the 3 days.
How was it the game plan for them where it's a bit different personnel and minutes? There's no Chris Payton. There's no Reggie Bass.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
We weren't sure if Bass was going to play or not because he had been dressed out yesterday. In fact, I think he dressed out today as well. So we weren't sure on that one. What I do know is who they were playing. When I was watching them on film against Toledo and Bowling Green, they were super, super connected and playing really well and motivated and executing and looked together. And, I was really impressed. I thought they were playing absolutely terrific heading into today.
Coach, what's your favorite thing about coaching these seniors?
Oh man, there's a lot of things. Favorite thing, huh? Probably our lunches at Diamond Deli. I'll put a plug in for Diamond Deli, my buddies out there, Chad and Brett. They do a great job. If you haven't been there, you should try it. It's a great sandwich spot in Akron. It's an institution. But we go, as long as it's not a travel day. Sometimes we play on Fridays, so we leave Thursday or whatever. But if we played Saturday, we go senior lunch down there. And, I really enjoy it. I'd say probably 90% of what's discussed at those luncheons have nothing to do with basketball. The people think we're crazy when we're in there because those guys will start telling stories about over the last 5 years, some of them with basketball stories about teammates and all that, and we'll be laughing, sitting in the corner in the back, and they're probably thinking, what are these guys doing? But yeah, that's one of my favorite things that we do.
All right, what's the go-to order?
Chelsea's, which is chicken salad. I take no onions and no avocado. Chad knows that, him and Brett, as soon as I walk in. But it's a great sandwich.
Coach, what's this next week, these next couple days look like for you and the team?
We'll see, obviously, tomorrow. We got to get a day off tomorrow, obviously, right? 3 games in 3 days. And, we'll figure out something. Our athletic director, who's awesome, just said to me, he said, we're figuring out something for tomorrow. So I'm sure Marcus is back there working on something. And, we'll do something tomorrow with the selection show. And then once that's, done, then we'll figure out, like, who we're playing, what day, when do we leave, and that'll determine when we practice, how we practice, what days we have contact. It'll determine the entire itinerary at that point.
Is this the most exciting time as a coach, but also the most stressful time as a coach? These 3 days.
Maybe when I was younger, stressful when we got it, but I almost see it as a blessing, to be honest with you, and especially coaching these guys. I mean, what a great gig. These guys, you saw them, you listened to them up here. I mean, so that makes it fun, challenging. We all love competition. We love to compete in our group. So, obviously, whoever you play in the NCAA tournament, they're good, obviously. So we got to make sure we're ready to go and do the things that we can control. No different than how we approached the MAC tournament, But I'm sure they'll be really good, and we'll have to figure it out once the draw comes out.
We got time for one more.
Coach, self-reflection. When you get to the championship game, you seem to win. I don't know what your overall record is, and even you've done it against Akron. When you get a chance to self-reflect, and I know you're not a me first type guy, but how do you reflect on when you get here? Thoughts of going through the game and then ultimately coming out on top.
Yeah, well, first, God is good. It's a blessing, right? I think sometimes people think you can control everything. I used to think that when I was younger as a coach. We talk about the foul, like, I can't control that. Guy steps to the line, my dad used to say to me, John, you can run offense to help them get there, but you can't make them for them. So I like to give you some, sophisticated answer. What I do think, though, is if you work hard, you control what you can control. You prepare. And you do that every day, and you honor the process, Chad, I think. And yeah, obviously you got to have some talented guys. I mentioned that earlier when Nate asked the question. But, then you take your chances. So we've been blessed, but I also think, hard work, preparation, all that matters. Who you recruit, the type of guys you have in your locker room. All those things matter. Culture matters, So a little bit of everything, but none more important than being blessed.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Everyone.